going on, everybody? Back out here in the garage again, working on the Jet John build. Went out this morning and picked up some freshly used aluminum, and I got this nice fancy street sign. You don't have to worry about that street sign. The way I see it, I've had enough tickets over the years that I feel like I paid for that, and the county won't miss it. Well, here we go, just chopping up an expensive piece of metal. I'm just winging it here. I'm not using any templates or anything, so hopefully this thing turns out decent. You know, it's definitely going to turn out symmetrical. All right, it's kind of starting to look like a boat. You got the sides on. They're a little bit crooked, but it's going to get like a cap piece on there, so that'll straighten it all out. Got the back. Decided to seam that together there because I didn't want to waste aluminum. That stuff ain't cheap. Right now it's all just kind of stitch welded, but I'll get it fully welded eventually. Now I'm going to get sidetracked like I always do and totally abandon that and start building the, I guess you call it a swim deck, the little platform that comes out over that pump. So I got some tubing and hopefully I can bend it with this kinker, but we will see. That worked pretty good bending it, but it was just a little bit too short. Oh well, matches the rest of this boat. This thing's gonna be hacked together mess before it's all done. Framing this back deck, whatever you want to call it, trunk, hood, whatever. Putting this 1x1 tubing around to kind of finish that edge off so it's not sharp and to give it some structure. It's nice and not sharp anymore. Stiffen that up, put those in there. Let's stiffen that up a bit. That should be strong enough to stand on now when I put the lid on there. And other side's the same. I'm gonna start working on this windshield because I don't like to do anything in any kind of order that makes sense, and that's just what I want to build next. I'll work on getting this seat in here now because I'm getting sidetracked again and I don't want to actually finish anything. I just want to tack it all together and jump from thing to thing. Marked out a few marks where I need to clean up the metal. Do that, slap that in there, weld that in. What was the front seat, that'll be the rear seat. Totally forgot that I was out of gas, so do something else, I guess. I think I will work on putting that there gas tank in that there little cubby hole. A smart person would take all the fuel out of this tank and then try to do it, but I'm not a smart person. I don't even think I'm gonna need a fuel gauge because you can just look in there. Next things, we got to hook up some sorts of straps and such, so I'm thinking a couple ratchet straps to make it easy on myself. So I think what I'm going to do is just drill a couple holes on each side of it, hook these hooks through it, and strap it down with these very cheap, already broken ratchet straps. It ain't going nowhere. Well, it ain't real pretty, it ain't real professional, but I think it's going to work. And I'll put this filler neck right there. Now I'm gonna get onto this that I've been putting off. I wanna take this shaft out of here and see if I can possibly shave this whole assembly down to basically nothing. All I want is this shaft out of it. I don't want this whole plate deal on here, so then I can just mount that right out of the dash wherever I need it to be. So hopefully this will come apart and I'll be able to do something with it. I love how everything on this jet ski is all stainless and aluminum. I mean, this stuff's like, I think it's a 04. Look how nice that still spins. I didn't even have to like force any of this stuff. Such good condition for being so old. Usually stuff like that, you gotta like get the old blue tip wrench out. It's a nice change. So this is the size that I need. This is the size pipe I have laying around. Doesn't quite fit, but I think if I just put something in there to space that out, sandwich all this stuff together, then I'll be able to weld this to the boat, and I think it'll work. So I'm gonna dig around a bit and see if I can't find something to fill that gap. So here's what I'm thinking. I think I can cut this, shove it inside there, fill the difference, and make this work. It'll be ghetto, yes, but I think it will work. It'll take about that much off. Put our rubber bushing in there. And look at that. Like a glove. I think that'll work. Do the same thing on that side. Bang, bang, bang. Then I have a steering shaft that I can weld to. This needs to be a little bigger though. See if this will work. Put our bushing in there. Maybe try cleaning it up so it's kind of straight. Put that end in there. This little guy in here. Put it all together. That guy on there. This little, these little Johnnies down. This little guy back on here. That back on. Remember, cross-threaded or torque to spec. Tight is tight. And just like that, you got your very own custom steering shaft that can be welded any which way you want, which I think will be just like that. Sometimes I even amaze myself. This here's steering wheel I'll be using. It's from a go-kart. Swiped it from the old man, but I thought it would be perfect for this boat because it's all aluminum. So I think I'm just gonna bolt it right on there. Probably just use 2 holes, or maybe I could put it on there cockamamie like that and use 3 holes. Anyway, that's gonna do that, and I only need like a 1/4 turn, so if this isn't centered on here, it really isn't gonna matter. Along those holes a little bit, and that ought to work. And there you have it. One super duper custom hacked steering wheel. So first thing, figure out where I want this thing. Right there feels about right. Broken pencil. Tack this in here where I like it. Now that we got the plastic bushings nice and hot, I think that's going to work just fine. Might break this down so I don't totally melt the bushings in there, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. I tend to be kind of lazy about that sort of thing and wonder why my steering wheel is wobbly. So I'm getting around to putting this piano hinge on this, I guess would be the trunk. And I don't really like how it looks just putting it on top like that. I think it looks kind of crappy. Again, I got ahead of myself. I think I'm gonna cut these tack welds here and slip that under the sheet metal and put this one on top of it, so then they'll just butt together. It'll look like that and it'll still function. It's a nice thing about working with metal, you can just cut the weld and start over and do it again. So that's that. I got that all riveted together. The hinge is up now. Everything rests on that piece of square tubing, so hopefully it won't fall apart. As usual, I got ahead of myself and I put this deck on here and riveted on and whatnot. And I still got a lot of work to do under here. I gotta put these on to hold it up so I can do my work under there. That worked out pretty dang good. I just drilled a hole, tapped it with the wrong size tap. Ended up putting a nut inside there because it was the wrong size tap. Did the same thing here, cross-threaded that one in, tightened the bolt on it. And I don't have the little ball doohickey that goes in there, so these, they just happen to fit in there perfect. And they're stainless, so they won't rust off. Got it right the first try. I'm gonna put one on the other side just to keep it from doing that number. Man, that thing's stiff now. Oh yeah, that'll work. Now I can get back to finishing all that nonsense. So I've been fooling around with this exhaust for quite a while, trying to figure out this jigsaw. This is how it's supposed to be hooked up. And what the pipes need to be in that orientation. But this is supposed to be, it would go through the transom there. The jet ski was shaped different that it came out of, so I can't put it where it's supposed to be. And without ordering a bunch of these pipes, yeah, I can't really run it any other way than like this. So I think I'm just gonna not run a muffler. I'll keep the water box, run my my exhaust tip through wherever it ends up, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna run a muffler because it's just gonna be way more hassle than it's worth. Hopefully just the stock water box there will muffle it enough where it's not obnoxiously loud. With not having that there, I have a lot more options where I can mount this. It'll probably go right there or somewhere in that region. It'll go something like that. Hopefully there's nothing on the other side. I think that's gonna work just fine right there. I just about cut that hole too big. This is super difficult to do by myself. This flange fits on here just a certain way. And it's really hard to hold everything together by myself. All right, let's try this one more time. Some fresh sticky stuff on here, which I'm making a mess with this because I'm using up this old tube that doesn't have a little end on it. This thing is absolutely kicking my butt. I got 3 in, right? And it's a flange, so the 4th one shouldn't really move. Well, I did that to the 1st screw, and then I got aggravated, and I did that to the 2nd screw. So, about that close to just welding it. So I've been fooling around trying to make this steering wheel situation happen. I started off with this one just because I thought it looked cool. I don't really like this one because it's a full wheel and my legs get down there and hit it. So then I got this one. This one's better, but I went to hook up some of my throttle here, and it's not the right diameter. It doesn't fit that tubing. And I was gonna try to like weld a little piece up here just to sit up there, but it was just too high and it was uncomfortable. And then I was gonna use this, but it's also not the right diameter to fit around that. So I have a bunch of this size tubing here, which is the right size to fit in there. It's the right size to fit in there, so I'm just gonna make my own steering wheel, and it's gonna be way cooler. I'm just gonna use this as kind of a reference about how big I want it to be. Something like that. It's gonna be really precise and definitely symmetrical. I'm gonna just fold it in half here. That way it kind of ends up being the same both ways. Totally just making this up as I go, so maybe it'll look cool. That's the center of the wheel. I'm just going to use the jigsaw, good old Black & Decker, it's the best brand out there, with a dull wood blade. I'm going to cut this out. Well, that was harder than it needed to be. Here's what we got. It's a little rough. I'm going to clean it up with a flap disc, and I think that'll be good enough. Bandsaw would have made my life a lot easier right then, but I don't really have the room for it, and I don't have one, so jigsaw is what we're using. I'm not going to follow the holes I drew on there because they're not really centered. Make some marks. Let's see how far off my holes were. Oh yeah, typical. I'll make it work. All right, I can work with that. Now I just need some little handle doodlies. So I'm just gonna crudely guess about where I need that to be. I'm going to use that to score it, because accuracy is important. Probably should have bent them first. That seems about right. I could weld that. I think one more thing it needs. I think I'm gonna put it in the vise, like right here, and bend it outward a little bit. It's a little too flat. Kind of wing it. Accuracy is super important here. We want exactly a 35.7 degree bend on each one, which I think we have just perfectly achieved. Look at that. That's fancy. Yeah, that'll work good. So there we have it. Got a throttle, start, kill switch, all right there where I can reach it. It's a little bulky, a little clunky, but I think it'll be all right. So after a bit of fooling around and looking at this thing and calculating weight distribution and such, I'm thinking the fuel tank up in the front is going to be too much weight in the front, because I got my seats, they're going to sit right there, which is pretty dang close to the front of the boat. And then you got the back seats. Anyway, this motor is heavy. I don't think it's quite as heavy as two full-grown, fluffy, fat guys. So, as much as I don't want to, I think I'm gonna go ahead and move it to the back. I stuck it in there just to see if it would fit. I don't want it on this side though, because the exhaust is on that side. I think I'm gonna put it on this side, which means I gotta cut that bracket loose. Just move that out of the way temporarily. Drop it in here. I know it fits in there because I had it in there once before when I was debating on all this. I don't know why I was thinking I should stick it up there, but I mean, two guys up front, you're looking at least 500 pounds. So I think that should offset that engine and fuel tank. I can't imagine that thing weighs more than 400 or 500 pounds. So it should even out pretty nicely, theoretically. Anyway, gotta move this. I'm gonna put it in there, strap it in some manner. The filler neck will end up somewhere over here, so I might just leave it under here. You just open the lid to fill it up. The only other problem with that is now I got all the weight on the, I guess would be the driver's side of the boat. So if I'm driving this thing alone, it's gonna be leaning pretty bad. So I got the fuel tank and my fat butt sitting on that side. So I'm thinking before it's too awful much trouble, this is just tack welded in here. I did cut that hole I'll have to patch, but I'm thinking about moving the controls to the other side there. Oh, it'd probably help if I took the gas out of this thing. So I went and dug through the spare parts. I found this little styrofoam base thing that it used to sit in the ski. Yeah. I'm gonna chop this down and fit it in there, and hopefully make a nice little soft spot for it to sit, and then weld a couple tabs on there and just ratchet strap it in there. I think that will be good enough. That ain't going nowhere. It's not my best work. I'm not proud of it, but I think it's gonna work. This is not as ideal as it was in the front. At least now all I gotta do is hook this stuff up with the factory fuel lines, because I imagine it's high pressure. I'm not 100% sure, but it's fuel injected, so usually it's high pressure lines. And all the pigtails and all the plugs, they'll all reach now, versus having to splice it and run longer wires up to the front. So this will kind of work out better in that regard. It's getting to be a tight squeeze in here. All the electronics fit perfectly in that little crevasse. So I'm probably just gonna nut and bolt this on instead of welding it, because I want it to be removable and I don't really want to weld directly over a gas tank full of gas. So I'll just put that like that, nut and bolt it, and that'll be that. Hooked up the electronics. I think I'm just gonna leave the key on the on position, because you don't really ever need to turn it off. I'm just gonna leave it back here instead of fooling with running it up there. The only, this is the only one I have to extend, and it's just a 4 wires, so that should be simple. Everything's back here now. I gotta look up a diagram and figure out which fuel line goes where, but I got plenty of fuel line. I'm just gonna leave this back here because obviously that's not gonna work and we really don't need it. So it's just there for the wiring to run through, and it did run when I took it out of the ski, so I had to pop it apart. Yeah, no chance of that thing working. I had to pop it apart and jump this wire that came undone here because I didn't do a very good job. But I just have to jump those 2 wires and it will trick the ski into thinking that it's, I don't know if it tricks it to thinking the key's on or what, but I think that's what it does, tricks the key. But anyway, it worked. It doesn't run the battery dead or anything. I let it sit for like 6 months before I ever started this, and the battery never went dead. So that was with the key on. I don't think the key even does anything anymore, but anyway, it's gonna be a little ghetto. There's not gonna be any gauges or anything up there, just a start and kill switch, which is all I really want. We don't need a speedometer or any of that crap. It's just more headache. Side here, I'm gonna take a sheet of aluminum and like kind of wall this off, because that would be a great little storage cubby since there's not really any storage on this boat. So I got all my fuel lines routed. I got all of my wires tied up in a knot. This thing taped back together, so hopefully that'll hold up. Just temporarily, I want to see if this thing's gonna turn over, which it should. I think I got everything hooked up. Just got that landed there. I'm gonna have to extend this at some point, but got the fuel tank mounted. I got the battery just temporarily wedged in there. I got to do something to mount that. Hopefully everything down there is plugged in. If not, it's getting very tight. It's getting hard to work on, and it's going to get even worse once I put the piece of metal right here that's going to box all that in. But yeah, see if this thing will turn over or do something. Should theoretically start. Not what I was hoping for. Not doing anything. So either my battery's dead or something's unplugged. I got my little probe diddly, and I have been checking everything here. Started at the ignition, found out I was getting 12 volts here. When I'd hit this, it was sending 12 volts down the other leg of the wire. So that was good. I checked it here at the solenoid. It was getting power there. I checked the key. I checked power on everything. I put clamps on the boat there just to make sure that grounding was not an issue. And still nothing. So while I was digging around in here, I found this little guy. Noticed, it's not hooked to anything. We'll just set that right there for now. And I think it will start. Turns over. Fuel pumps pumping. I don't know what that noise is. Get the good charger. By good, I mean old one that charges fast, but will cook a battery if you let it. Try again. Still not starting. Might pop this off, make sure that wire that's in there, it's got a good connection, the one that I have to jump. And if that don't do it, I don't know. This thing ran fine when I pulled it out a couple weeks ago. So I've double checked everything again and again, and I think I got everything right. So maybe it just needs primed or whatever. So I think it was just that I'm hitting this button here when I'm, like, while this stuff's apart. Normally you'd put your little thing in there which pulls that out like that, which relieves this button. I think when I was holding it together I was pushing the button. Oh yeah! It's alive! I think I'm gonna cut this video off here. It's getting pretty lengthy. Hopefully in the next video we'll get this thing up and running and take it out for a test run. If you like this video, please let me know. Hit the like button or tell me you didn't like it or whatever. I don't care. Just some input, because I don't really know what I'm doing here. So, you know. But anyway, good day.